Welcome to the We All Win podcast. This is Isaiah Grigg. We are here with the incomparable Mayor Waylon Hobbs from the village of Hempstead. And we're going to really start this off with a conversation, not just so much to talk about the great successes of the village, but we're really going to talk about the successes of you, the man, the leader, father, the trendsetter, to really demystify, right, the art of what it takes to achieve these great milestones, right, to achieve how we've gotten here, and to really inspire those who might have political aspirations, those who might have public speaking aspirations, or those who might be struggling to find their way to decipher, this isn't so big for me. This isn't so big of a thought for me to accomplish this. This is not so far reaching from where I am for me to think so big and so ambitious, right? So March 18th, 2021, right? You get elected for the first time. I know we got elected a second, which we're going to talk about, but March 18th, 2021, you get elected for the first time as the mayor of Village of Hempstead. What are you thinking in that moment?
Well, first of all, let me say it's an honor to be on this program, and I'm here to just, share my experience. Now, you said trendsetter. I don't know about trendsetter.
No, you are. I promise.
Well, listen. So March 18th, 2021, when I was elected mayor of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, which I must say is the largest village in the great state of New York, I was very excited. I previously served as deputy mayor before that in 2018 for 2 years. And so I had experience as a deputy mayor, experience as a trustee, but now as the mayor, the CEO of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, that was a whole new experience. I was happy, I was excited, but I was ready, because there were things that I did prior to that I believe prepped me to be ready to take the helm as mayor of the village.
You said something that's really telling, and I appreciate that you said it confidently and with a certain vigor, and you said, I was ready.
Yes.
Right. Now, oftentimes, and I can even say it in myself, when I'm looking ahead and I'm thinking of what's the next phase of evolution, not only for Isaiah, but for Music Breeds, for my other endeavors. And sometimes you ask yourself that question, am I ready for this? Right? Am I ready for this change? Have I prepared myself? What are the insecurities that I feel? Am I educated enough? Right? Have I met the right people? Have I, seen enough things? Have I networked enough? How do you get, or how did you get to that point where you could at that moment have said to yourself, you want to know what? I deserve this. I've earned it. I'm ready for it. I've prepared myself for it. Now let me thrive within it.
Right. Well, listen, I personally feel that many times, unfortunately, we sell ourselves short, because of insecurities, because of uncertainties. The first thing you have to do, you have to have confidence in who you are, right? And what you deserve. And many times people get it confused with being conceited. It's not being conceited, it's being confident. You have to be confident in your ability, your skills, and your experience. And then you have to have enough faith to be able to step out there. Someone asked me one time, they said, what would be your advice for anyone that want to run for elected official? I said, the first thing is, don't be scared to lose. Because if you're afraid to lose, then you're not going to take that chance. And as much as you want to win, but there's a possibility you could lose. So if you let that fear of losing stop you from pursuing your goals, you'll never do it. And that's just life, period. If you're afraid to take a chance, then you'll never take that chance.
It's debilitating.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things where you can legit move yourself into a corner that didn't exist before you put yourself there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So you can be so focused on a given task, and because you watched somebody else that you thought you did it the way they were supposed to, right? You've watched, these days with social media, you're comparing and contrasting with certain things, and you're not giving yourself the grace to say, this is my journey, right? This is the way I'm supposed to do this, and there is a specific way I was chosen to do this, and I'm the individual walk in my authority in that regard.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So the faith-based part of this is super important for you, I know.
Yes.
Right.
It is.
And there is a level set that happens, with a foundation of anything. Right. I tell my students, those that even some talk about it with my team as well, is that, at the end of the day, you have to have a foundation.
Absolutely.
Because when things get choppy, things get difficult, right? That insecure stuff starts to pop in. What are you relying on to make sure when you get up the next day, you're still moving in the direction that you already said you wanted to?
Absolutely.
Right. So talk to me about, and obviously we know you're the bishop as well, right? So talk to me about the faith-based piece of not only how's that helped you, but how have you been able to balance that, right? Because that's huge, that's mayorship times 2.
Absolutely.
Right. So talk to me about that.
Well, so I want to say that, first of all, we are all individuals, right?
Yes.
It's always good to have mentors,
Mhm.
people that you look up to, some examples,
Yeah.
but you have to remember you're uniquely you,
Yes.
right? No individual has the same
Mhm.
fingerprint. That's how unique we are, right? And so you have to celebrate the fact that you are uniquely you. Well, if the bishop side will come out for a second,
Sure.
I'm reminded of a scripture that talks about there were some men in a ship, right? And they were washing their nets. They was finished fishing for the day,
Mhm.
and Jesus asked them to go back out.
Yeah.
They says, "Listen, we toiled all night long. We didn't catch nothing.
We're tired.
We're tired, But said, nevertheless,
Right.
at your word."
Mhm.
And so I believe that it's so important to know, having that foundation, that I can do all things, not some things, but all things.
Yeah.
Even if I failed yesterday, failure does not stop me from succeeding tomorrow.
Right.
If at first you don't succeed, try again. You cannot be afraid to fail. Like I said before, with an election, you cannot be afraid to lose. And so having that foundation of, listen, a blessing delayed is not a blessing denied. Just because it didn't happen right away doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Failing forward. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's so important. And I mean, and I appreciate hearing that, because many, I mean, to get to the brass tacks of it all, many people will never believe they can succeed where you have. Right. And the realities are that there are systems in place that they may feel that they're bound by, right? There are barriers in place that they may feel that they're unfairly chosen or unfairly looked upon. So there is a undercurrent, right, that we are navigating that separates our ambition from the realities of how we execute. And it is a reality that we just can't look over, especially now where we are being challenged in ways that we never thought possible. And what's so funny about it is that we keep saying that, and then it keeps happening.
Right. Yeah,
we keep saying this could never happen, and then it happens. Right.
Yes.
So what do you say to that individual, right, that is struggling to commit to their desires, but also in a realistic bind, right, that is not so easy to overcome because of what's happening?
Right. Well, listen, I always tell people, we shouldn't minimize people's suffering and what they go through, because you don't know what they're dealing with.
Right.
But I do want to tell you this. There's a saying that you see the glory, but you don't know the story behind the glory. And so with all of this, which some would consider success, and I feel successful. There is a background. I come from divorced parents. I come from an alcoholic father. And that was one of the reasons why my mother separated from him. A very abuseful relationship, right? And so, when my parents were together, Christmases was excellent. I got the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip, the Hot Wheels. Oh my gosh. So, just Christmas was wonderful. But when my parents separated, it was a struggle for my mother to raise 4 kids on her own, not having the financial support from my father. And so we went from having big, wonderful Christmases to you'll be happy if you got a sock and some fruit for Christmas, right? And we moved from place to place because my mother wasn't able to keep up with the rent. We got evicted. We moved somewhere else. So I've had some struggles in my past, right? And so, but you cannot allow even the difficult times to define who you are. Actually, it is the difficult times that make you. When you go to the gym, right? And you're a little more fitter than me, but when you go to the gym, you can't get mass and muscle growth without lifting weights, right? And the more weights you lift, the stronger you get. And so in life, even when things are very difficult, it's really to make you strong. So take those difficult moments and use it as your strength to encourage you that if I survive that, I can survive this. Oftentimes I talk about the difference between many of us and when it comes to millionaires. If they lose all their wealth tomorrow, many of them commit suicide. There was a season when Wall Street crashed. People was jumping off of roofs and all that. But we know what it is not to have. So we're grateful for what we have now. But if we lose it tomorrow, we will survive. And so that's the difference.
I hear you on that. And the journey is important. And speaking of mentors, one of the greatest mentors I had that humbled me. And, because sometimes you can get into yourself, right? Oh my God, woe is me.
Right.
Why is this happening? This is never going to be, oh my God, the rain is coming and the flood is coming up as well, right? But one thing they said to me was, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right. So true.
Right. And at first I said, who do you think you're talking to? Right? That's, because at the end of the day, it's like, how about you respect where I am? But at the same time, it's like, I respect where you are. However, you learn and you grow from where you are by understanding you ain't the only one.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
the humility that now brings you towards allows you to see a wider lens, right? So listen, I did not have always the best childhood, and to your point, that struggle allowed me to have the shoulders that I have now.
Right.
So, and thank you for the, but it allowed me to have the shoulders that I have now. And I'm sure you can attest to this in that if I did not have the childhood that I had, there's no universe that I can do what I do right now.
Right. So true.
No universe, right? And now some might say, well, why does it take all of that? Because to your point earlier, because I am the individual and my journey is specific for me. And there had to be a nurturing and a process. We use that word process. The church word. It's a process. It's a process, right?
Yes.
But there had to be a process and a nurturing to where, and I believe this even for our listeners, there is a way at which each individual has to grow into their purpose.
Absolutely.
And the way you grow into your purpose is subjective to what you're chosen to do. And you cannot negate that path. That path is for you. And the more you fight that path, the harder it gets.
Absolutely.
And so for those now in this great village of Hempstead that are looking to evolve, looking to benefit from the great policies and the infrastructural changes and nuances that are happening, what do you tell the village of the residents of Hempstead, right, that are looking to your leadership, that are in that same place that you and I have just disclosed? They're still in the weeds, right? They're still in the place where, hey, I know what I want, but I'm trying to get there. and I'm looking for leadership to show me a path that I can follow. What's that path in your eyes for them to get to that next level?
Yeah. So one of the challenges that I experienced as mayor here in the village of Hempstead is not really crime, not some of the other issues that we deal with, but getting the residents to understand that better includes them. Because many times, because we have major downtown revitalization going on now, new apartment buildings being built, residential on top, commercial on the bottom. This is economic empowerment. But right away, many people start thinking of gentrification. They're putting up all these new buildings to push us out and bring other people in. Why? Why do you always think that better does not include you? You should have the mindset that I deserve better. And that's one of the reasons that I ran for mayor, because I wanted to see my community have better. I wanted to see my community have an opportunity to get what they deserve. And so now that we're presenting that opportunity, it's trying to change the mindset of the people to let them realize that this includes you. We're doing it for you. And sometimes that's very difficult because listen, there have been systematic things put in place to stop us, to discourage us, and to slow us down. And so I understand that. And so, I don't act like that's not a reality, but just getting the community to realize that I didn't run for mayor to push my community out. I ran for mayor to make my community better. And I am not a sellout because, I can't be bought. Bottom line, anybody that knows me, I am one of the most stubborn person in the world. It's hard to negotiate with me because you can't buy me. And so I would never sell out my community. I fight for my community. We have seen within the last 4 years, this community evolved from where every time it was in the news, it was negative, to now we see positive things happen because that's what I advocate for. I let news media know you can't even have access to me. If you're not going to bring some good stories about Hempstead, then don't come to me about no bad things. And so, it's fighting for our community, but needing our community to buy into the concept that better includes you.
You unpacked a lot just now. In two parts. Number one, a fighter is what we need.
Absolutely.
Right. And the more we see the fight, the more we want to fight. And I think to your point, it is hard and I've experienced this at my level when it comes to shaping or trying to reshape or provide ways to reshape the slave mentality. Right.
Yes.
Right. That mentality, imposter syndrome, that that thing where we cannot imagine that something as necessary as evolution has our name on it.
Right. Yep.
Right. And sometimes, and I could be very transparent, one of the hard things to do when trying to provide services is to get someone to take advantage of it. Right. The hard part about being great at something is sometimes because you've already thought it's so unreachable, you think it's a scam. You almost think it's not real.
Yes.
Right. And it takes some real nurturing and cultivating to systematically reposition you to understand what's there and then position you to actually receive it.
Absolutely.
But sometimes the hardship is you run out of time.
Yeah. And let me just interject because you said something that that's definitely powerful, right? So they feel it's a scam, right? But let's be honest, we have had enough scam artists in our community, right? And so that fear or that caution, it's for a reason. And so I've made it my point to expose those that's supposed to be in leadership role that's really scamming our community, to expose those that profit off of failure. Because in our communities, failure is big business for some people.
It is.
And so, people don't want to see us succeed. They don't want to see us thrive because they're making money off of our failure. And so, we have to have enough guts to speak truth to power, to call out those that are in leadership position that's not benefiting our community, but robbing our community. We can't sit back and act like it does not exist. We have to call it out. And so, I just wanted to add that.
You're absolutely correct.
Because there has been some scammers.
There is. So I would say let's stay there in that. What do you propose we do? Right? How can we take part in not only in acknowledging those who are benefiting, but how do we at our level give back to the community where it's working on both sides, right? So at the top down, we have yourself, your leadership, your team cultivating these policies, presenting opportunities, whatever that might be. But how do we at the ground floor kind of meet you in the middle, right? In terms of programming, events, making different programs that are accessible to those. What in your mind, what is the nirvana space of how you would see community influencers contribute?
So collaboration is important.
Sure.
I always speak about relationship. That's my biggest thing, relationship. Because I've been able to bring in the past 4 years, almost $160 million in funding to the village of Hempstead to deal with our infrastructure, road, water, and stuff like that. But that's because of relationships.
Listen, my account number is
relationships on the federal, state level, going into places with integrity, get you the resources, because people are not going to give money to anybody that they don't trust, right? Correct. And so we have to have that trust in our community for one another. I pastor in Coney Island going on 31 years, right? And one thing I never did at our ministry, we never duplicated what somebody else was doing. So, for example, if someone had a food pantry, why am I having a food pantry? Let me give those resources to them. If someone gives out clothes, why am I giving out clothes?
No, that makes sense.
It's no reason to duplicate, but let's work together and strengthen one another. And so I think that's key in getting rid of some of the scammers and those that are really committed to working in our community, making our community better. Let's get together and let's work together. I always tell people, I'm not here to compete against you. I'm here to compliment you.
I love it. And you hit on something, and you really see it a lot. And we call it oversaturation, right? But realistically, it's just a million people doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
And if we join forces and resources, we could create something that's so dynamite that is what they call too big to fail.
Oh, absolutely. And see, in our community, when it comes to funding, right? Funding for nonprofit programs, we've hurt each other so bad, right? Because if you're running a youth program, right, and it's successful, and just say funding wise, you're getting, I'm just using an example, maybe $100,000 a year for funding, which is not a lot.
Manifested.
Right, $100,000 in funding. Now, I come around and I want to start a youth program. Instead of working with you, right, expanding with you, growing more, producing more so that we could get more funding. You now, where you was getting $100,000 in funding, now that I popped up, most elected officials try to, please everybody. So now I'm giving you $50,000 and I'm giving them $50,000. Our community didn't really gain anything. We've duplicated services, but have not brought in more resources, right? So when we learn how to work together, build upon one another, I tell people, well, as now not as an elected official, back as pastor, I tell people all the time, don't give my community a piece of the pie. Give us the whole
Give us
pie
the whole pie.
and let us divide it the way it needs
Right.
to be divided.
I hear that.
But they have been successful at giving a crumb here, a crumb here, a crumb here, and we think we're getting something. That we're not getting anything compared to other communities and organizations that work together.
So tell me about the downtown revitalization, right? So we have, I know we just got that great grant from Governor Hochul's office, that $10 million, which is great. I know there's certain, obviously checks and balances as to where that's going to be distributed, priority, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So what in your mind, for those who might be wondering, is kind of your priorities, for the village in terms of how you want to see downtown Main Street area kind of brought up?
Right. So we received the Downtown Revitalization Initiative grant for $10 million because we are a development community, right? We're a community. Prior to getting the grant, we've already started our economic development in our downtown. We've already started building housing for our young professionals to be able to afford to live here in Nassau County. Hempstead is the hub. We have the Long Island Railroad. We have the Rosa Park bus station. So we're transit oriented, right? And most people that's looking to live downtown want to live somewhere where there's access to transportation. And so we already checked that box, right? And that was a big part of us being able to get this award, right? For the $10 million. So we're looking for our downtown to be accessible for our residents, where you can come, dine, be entertained, right? And live right in the same area. We want to see a more diversity in our eating establishments, right? Because we are a diverse community, So not only do we want to see the Latino cuisine, let's get some soul food restaurants open here, and then also bringing in national brands. Right now in our downtown, one of the development sites, we're going to bring in Compared Food, which is a supermarket, right? A major supermarket. We have coming to Hempstead Chipotle. So there was a time before in the village of Hempstead when a building went empty or store left, that building stayed empty for years. Now, because we got things popping, things growing, people want to come here. Somebody leaves, somebody comes in. Let's look at Stop and Shop. Stop and Shop supermarket left, Bazaar Food came in. And, so things are moving in the right direction. We are looking to take this $10 million and it's used to plan, we're going to have community engagement because I want to see some of our downtown move from vehicle traffic to foot traffic. So where we expand the sidewalk so we can have some sidewalk cafes and you can sit and dine in our downtown area. We're looking to take some of the spaces in downtown that has been abandoned and neglected that we're going to do internet domain and take it over. And we're looking to do even a spot where those that are looking to be, entrepreneurs or start restaurants, incubator space, right? That you could come there and we have that community kitchen, but industrial kitchen. So, if you're doing Jamaican cuisine, whatever, you can prep your food there and, have an area that people could come and taste the different restaurants, incubator restaurants in the place. So we're looking to do things to empower people and do things a little different that haven't been done in a while. We just purchased the Helen Keller building. That's going to be the new Village Plaza. Right now, Village Hall is a small location that's been that way for over 100 years. So we just purchased a bigger building. And when we have all of our village services there, our departments there, we're also going to have a community space so that community organizations can meet and things like that. So to bring life in our downtown.
Listen, the village is on the move. I love to hear it. I mean, that is amazing. And you want to know, I don't think anybody would have known that unless you said it right now. So thank you for the We All Win podcast for getting that here first. I mean,
news breaking.
Right? So you mentioned diversity, and in everything you just mentioned, I think diversity is key. And even what you've mentioned is diverse.
Absolutely.
Right? diverse in sector, diverse in the type of nutrition, diverse in the type of store, which should bring in a diverse set of crowd, right, in terms of the residents. Obviously, Hempstead is a heavy Latinx community,
Yes.
right? And, you know, with this particular administration, we've seen some hardships, right, when it comes to ICE, when it comes to the chaos, the uncertainty
Right.
around that community. In this revitalization, in the mindset that we're talking about shifting and dealing with the scarcity factor, the imposter syndrome, and those things, how do we address um, the the mindset and realistically just the nervousness, okay, around that community to where we want to be around when all this great stuff comes to the village. And we don't want to be bound and scared to walk outside, scared to take our children to schools. And, you know, what's happening in your mind, or what is the village prepared to do or already doing in that regard to safeguard and protect its residents from the uncertainty? Because obviously we don't know what's going, you know, things happen and there's controls being put in place. And we also obviously understand the legalities of certain things, right? But we're talking about just the mindset behind, you know, I mean, before I digress, I've had students that are nervous to go to school, right? I've had parents come to me and with legitimate concern of, you know, I don't know if I'm going to have my job tomorrow.
Right.
You know, I don't know if, you know, someone's going to come knocking on my door and I can't get away. You know, I don't know if I'm going to be in my house of worship and somebody's going to be waiting for me outside. If I go to the emergency room, are they going to, all of these common practical things that we have to go to, have to do, are now becoming targeted.
Yes.
Right. So what's your level set to that, you know, to that resident that's dealing with that?
Well, listen, under this Trump administration, it has made things difficult, not just on a national level, but international. He's just messing up everything, right? Locally, we have a large Latino community, and we have a large community of undocumented,
Right.
bottom line. And so that has become a challenge in two levels, not just in the Trump administration, but even before that. Because when you have services like social service, right?
Yes.
Our undomiciled or homeless, undocumented residents in the village of Hempstead cannot get services, right? Because social services cannot take funding for somebody that's not documented. And so that becomes a challenge to make sure that we provide services for these people, right? And so I've been advocating strongly that they start shifting some of that funding away from social services and give it to nonprofits that can address the undocumented, right? And provide those services. And so now put the Trump madness on top of that, that adds another level of fear in our community and injustice in our community. Because we have residents that are afraid now, you know, not just to go to school, worship, but they're not going to the beauty parlor. They're not going to the barbershops. So now this is hurting our local businesses, right? Because of this nonsense. Now, I want to say this, that what many of our community and our nation have to realize, that an executive order does not supersede the Constitution of the United States of America. And although the red man, Donald Trump, has the audacity to say, when asked, do you think that people should have due process? He said, I don't know. Yet but I can understand, because when he took his oath of office, he didn't put his hand on the Bible.
Exactly.
So let's be clear to that.
He did not.
Because the oath of office of the President of the United States is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. And everything that the Constitution entails, when you take that oath of office as president, you're supposed to protect and defend it. And so for him to come up with executive orders that's contrary to the Constitution is just crazy. Right now, you know, the deck is stacked, but even Republicans who are afraid to speak out against what's wrong, they cannot fight against the Constitution. And so I believe that eventually all this clownness and madness is going to be dealt with based on the Constitution. As far as ICE goes, ICE is a federal agency, right? Mm-hmm. Federal law enforcement agency. In every state, local municipality, right, we do not have the authority to hamper or stop any federal agency. But like I said before, it's all about relationships. So on a local level with the ICE agency, Long Island region, we've already had a relationship with them prior to Trump. And so they're targeting people that have warrants, legitimate warrants, that have committed crimes. And they're working with our police department that before they come in Hempstead and just start grabbing people, they call our chief of police and say, listen, we're going to be in Hempstead, but we're looking for this person, this person, this person. And so we've been able to assist them, making sure that they go directly to that person and not schools and house of worship. So it's about having a relationship. Right. And so, like I said, right now, the fear is definitely there. But I want you to know that they're not coming in Hempstead, just, going in houses of worship and things like that. But that fear is there.
Fear is definitely there. I mean, it's comforting to know that relationships matter.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And I believe that with all of that, I tell people all the time, we have red, we have blue, we have everything in between, everything indifferent. However, this is not about that in my mind. This is what's humane and what isn't. Absolutely. Right. This is what is the culture of our country, and what is it going to be the culture after he leaves? Because when you present certain cultural shifts, it takes a while for it to recalibrate itself.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot like, I'll even use the PD. The PD is a generational entity. Okay. You can set things in place in 2025 and not see the fruits of it until 20 years later. Understand what I'm saying? So if we run the risk of positioning our children to look at the world in the way that we don't want them to. And there is a sense of urgency that I feel that if we do not combat what's happening legislatively, executively, with a more humane response to show there is another way, because it does not help us to fight fire with fire.
Right.
It doesn't help us.
True.
All it does is it drives us more towards what they actually want, which is chaos, which is distrust, which is misinformation, which is this overarching method of just say what's there and see if it sticks.
Right.
Right. And I have to look at it from now. I am that nonprofit that are providing these services, and I do want to help, but we need the resources to do so. Right. And if we're taking the risk now of providing services to those who are hampered by insecurity, hampered by these things, it causes a great burden, right, on our staffs, on our livelihood. And don't get me wrong, nonprofit work is already difficult.
Oh, absolutely.
It's already difficult. But we want to work. We want to be in the trenches. But we also want to provide a level of sobriety, right, to what we believe, or what I believe. I'll speak unilaterally here. What I believe is a culture shift, right, in how we ideologically view our country, our processes, and the way at which we should go about things. It should not be so corporate in our world to where if you can win, do it at any costs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That can't be it, because then you get rid of hard work. You get rid of perseverance. You get rid of, we move too far away from the principles that stabilize the foundation of this country. And then more locally, it starts to impede on some of the initiatives, because our mindset has shifted to where we, like you said earlier, I can't get to where you want us to be because we have all this other noise.
Right.
Right. So it's a passion of mine and I believe a duty of mine, right? Not only in who I am to Music Breeds as the organization, but just as a man presenting a what should be a stable foundation for those who are watching,
Right.
right? And there's, I believe, and I'll digress on this. There's great opportunity in the chaos
Oh, yeah.
that I see.
Oh, absolutely.
And I believe if we can shift past the noise, and to your point, and it's where I think we were saying this earlier, there's only but so much that can actually happen. Right.
Right.
So there's the stuff that we hear, the news, and I know everybody says, oh man, I don't want to watch the news, it's depressing and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, if you understand policy, understand the Constitution, understand what executive orders and the power of such is, you understand that number one, it takes a long time,
Absolutely.
right, to really get these things passed. But also, there's a lot of checks and balances, but I think the mindset is think bigger, not smaller, right? Widen your grip on what your opportunities are, and really prepare yourself for the next. And that would lead me to, I guess, where I would like to go next. And I know we're going to be wrapping up soon. When we're thinking about the mindset of winning, right? And I know we've discussed a lot, right? When we're thinking about the mindset of winning, what is the overarching message, right? That anyone that comes in contact with Mayor Hobbs, you want them to leave your presence knowing that the aura of winning is this, and my mindset on winning is this. Because at the end of the day, everybody can win.
Absolutely.
We all have a part to play. There's room for everyone. There's room, like we were saying locally, there's room for every nonprofit. There's room for every small business. There's room for you if you collaborate, if you do this. So what's the message that you would send just in hindsight of this is what it takes to win, this is how we can win, and this is what winning could ultimately contribute to?
Well, so it's been a lot said.
I know, I'm sorry.
A lot. I want to say this. When we look at what's going on now, right, under the Trump administration, that's hurting so many nonprofits and things like that. As a matter of fact, I'm a member of the U.S. Conference Mayor. Mm-hmm. I'm a member of the African American Mayors Conference. Yes. I'm a member of the New York Conference of Mayors. And so, the Democratic Mayors Association. Yes. One of the things the Democratic Mayors Association has come up with, and it's a shame that we had to do this, we had to come up with a list of stay away words. So when you're trying to get funding now, because of the Trump administration, before, it was a plus to say that if I get funding, I'm going to support minority businesses. Now those are like no words.
Yeah, you can't say that anymore.
Yeah, you can't say, which is terrible.
This is terrible.
And so in trying to get funding for our community, now we have to be careful what we put in our application in order to get that funding, which makes no sense at all. And so what is key is that we have to get back to the basics. Local politics is the most powerful politics that there is, because it is your local on state level and municipal level that you get the most resources, right? So you got to make sure you get out and vote the right people in. We have to make sure that we vote the right people in when it comes to even Congress and Senate and things like that, because I'm telling you, the Republicans are going to regret the first 100 days of Donald Trump and his nonsense in this midterm election. Believe me when I tell you, because they can't hardly have town hall meetings without their own Republican constituents lighting them up. And so I believe that we're going to see a shift when it comes in the midterm election. Many of them are going to get voted out of office, and we'll start gaining more control. But I am concerned on the Democratic level that, in my opinion, we've been too quiet. I'm shocked at the fact that even locally on our Congresswoman, right, Laura Gillen, which is a friend, but I was shocked at the fact that she voted to censor that one Democratic that spoke out against some of the nonsense that's going.
Right.
When, from the time that President Obama was in office, the Republicans have been so disrespectful in those hollow grounds, chambers, and yet when Democrats cry out, Democrats censor them? Absolutely not. It's time for us to open up our mouth and speak loud. Call out the nonsense that's going on. And we need to see more of that on our level. We need, as a community, as we elect people that understand that we want what everybody else wants. We want to be able to live in a safe community. We want to be able to have the same benefits for our children that other communities have. And so it's about putting the right people in power to represent us, because there's nowhere in the world Donald Trump should be in office. Shouldn't. But listen, all things work together for the good. And I believe that this season is going to open up even his supporters' eyes, because guess what? Most of them folks in South Carolina and Alabama and Mississippi that thought that all these changes was going to hurt us, it's hurting their pockets. Because trust me, if you think that our folks are the only one that get food stamps and EBT cards, the devil is a liar. Them same folks that voted him in is hungry because he's blocking access to them. And so we're going to see a shift. We're going to see a change, which is going to, put us in a better position. I believe that, we're going to have a season of some rough times, but don't give up. Don't quit. Because better days are coming.
Better days are coming.
What the enemy intended for our bad is going to turn around for our good.
Listen,
but we've got to capitalize on this opportunity for us to regain power.
Yes.
And I also want to say this, and because you said it too, that fighting power with power. But I want to serve this little disclaimer, this notice to the Proud Boys and whoever else boys that. Our children ain't our grandparents. It ain't going to be just easy coming in our community like you used to do in the other community. I just want to put that warning out there. I know that the county executive...
Understand what I said.
Oh, listen. Where you bring it is where you get it. I'm from that school.
I hear that.
And I know the county executive, Bruce Blakeman, did something, where he deputized folks that have pistol license, which is crazy, but I want to tell them too, you can have all the deputy power you want to. You come to Hempstead, I'm going to deputize some folks on Terrace Avenue. It's going to be a big misunderstanding. I just want you to know.
Hilarious. I love it. Listen, sometimes you have to let them know.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, we ain't never scared.
But I think at the end of the day, I think, to your point, there has to be a very distinct showing of folks who are not fearful.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. We can't operate in fear. We can't move in fear, business-wise, individuals, residents. We have to ensure that we are setting the tone. Yes. Okay. And fear does not mean always, or fighting fear doesn't always, have to mean you doing something off the
crazy.
charts.
Yeah. No.
All it means is keep doing what you're doing at a high level.
Absolutely.
Exceed expectations.
Right. Strategically fighting this fight the right way. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's a war and there's a battle. Right. And we got to win them both. Absolutely. Usually it would say we got to win them both.
Both. Yes. Absolutely.
Right. And that's going to take thought, it's going to take intent, it's going to take strategy, is going to take understanding, policy, is going to take educating ourselves, not just listening to TikTok reels, not just listening to what's going on YouTube or things of that nature, but understanding we have officials like yourself in office that are giving us the information that we need. at a high level, straight to the point, and to now decipher that information and to do our own research in regards to it.
Absolutely.
Right. So, number one, thank you so much for being here. This was an amazing conversation. I wish we had more time because this is what I appreciate. But I love having the opportunity to engage, to dialogue, and to really learn. Right. This was a learning moment for me to understand more, not only about what's happening in the village, but about you. Right. There's something that is telling about when you have the opportunity to learn more about your leaders, right? And every leader, every good leader that I've been in contact with or been around has allowed people to learn about them. It develops trust, it develops a sense of rapport, a sense of belonging.
Absolutely.
And it just creates an atmosphere to where you can function and produce and really exceed your own expectations. So I want to thank you. Thank you so much for making the time to be here in your busy schedule.
Listen, it was an honor. It was an honor. And let me just say this because you just said something. So any person that's inspiring for leadership role or to just be out there in the fight, right? You have to be willing to be transparent. And transparency is so important. So some people think that being transparent exposes you. No, it actually frees you.
It frees you.
Because I tell people all the time.
It really does.
I'm gonna tell my story before you tell it. And the only way
that again, sir.
the only way someone can have something over your head or hold something over your head if they can tell it before you can tell
That's
it.
Right.
So you have to listen. None of us is perfect.
That's
right. I've made mistakes and things like that. But you've got to be willing enough to say, this is who I am. Accept it, reject it, but I'm not going to put on a facade and be something that I'm not.
And usually my version is going to be juicier anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Trust me, you want it from me.
Well, yeah. Because I was there, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And so that is important. I just had to, I had to share. Totally and then limiting your circle. Because the more you begin to excel, the more you begin to strive for greatness, shorten that circle. Because not everybody that's around you is celebrating you. I tell people this all the time, that when you do things, don't look at the people that's clapping. Look at the people that should be clapping that's not clapping. That's who you need to watch. And so shorten that circle.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I mean, one of the hardest lessons you learn sometimes when you thrive is that you have to intentionally really ensure the people around you are who they're supposed to be.
Absolutely. Yes.
And sometimes it's okay to have one to the two people that are just that's your ride or dies. Because, and I'll be transparent about this. One of the things that broke my heart the most in leadership is seeing folks you were in the trenches with. Right, people that saw your grind, your grow, your things that you went through, and those folks cannot say good job.
Yeah.
They won't say, way to go. They won't pat you on the back. They'll wait for you to need them. They'll wait for you to fail. They'll wait for you to voice something that's gone wrong for them to say, "Oh, here's how you do this."
Right. Absolutely.
I don't need that at that point, right? Because at this point, we're on different levels anyway. Right, because what I'm dealing with, you have no experience in dealing with yet. Right, so how can you help me?
Yeah.
Right, what I need you to do is just be. But it's something that I think as leaders, it's a hard truth, but a necessary one. And I think speaking to leaders that are out there, don't be afraid to understand that for yourself. Absolutely. As you said, it is freeing to be transparent, not only about what's going on in your life, but the things that you need.
Absolutely,
and the things that you do not need. So with that said, thank you again, Mayor Hobbs, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I
really appreciate it. This is going to be an amazing episode. This is going to be so amazing when people see, and I'm looking forward to seeing the outpour. So those of you who are watching, thank you. This is, again, the We All Win podcast. We are here to not only inspire you, but to make sure that once you listen to this once you've experienced what we do here at MB Studios with this podcast, is that we are here to help you. We are here to incite a certain level of evolution, but also an excitement. Okay, so don't worry about it. It's going to work out. Okay, try again. Don't be afraid to fail forward. Right, and you want to know what? Nothing's new under the sun. I promise you, there's somebody out there that can help you with where you are.
Absolutely.
Seek them out. Be transparent in what you need on your journey, and I promise you, you will thrive. Thank you for watching.